This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's October 3rd, 2025. On this day in 1957, a California judge ruled that Allen Ginsberg's beat poetry masterpiece, Howl, did not violate obscenity laws. Now, Howl is a challenging read. It deals with things Ginsberg considered to be the most evil aspects of the world, as seen through the lens of a peyote trip. The language is quite descriptive and often intentionally crass. But as the judge said in a ruling which at times reads like a paper written for an English lit class, the uncomfortable and sometimes vulgar devices are used for a literary purpose. Ginsberg takes you into a nightmare so that he can then walk you through it and out the other side. And ultimately, he luxuriates in announcing the things he finds good and joyful. Some of them are sexual. And given that Ginsberg was a gay man who liked to do drugs and didn't have much use for social norms, his explicit list of good things might not be what everyone would have liked to see included in 1957. But not being for everyone is not illegal. It's not the same thing as being obscene. And the judge ruled it's important to let works like Howl be around so that the people it is for can find it. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Before the Howl ruling came the raid. Police entered the legendary San Francisco bookstore City Lights and arrested both the owner and the cashier. They were taken away in handcuffs and charged with distributing obscene material. It was a landmark incident, a milestone decision by the judge, and it may have done as much as Ginsberg's writing to make Howl a famous text. The publicity for the trial certainly gave counterculture-curious folks in far-flung small towns an idea of what beat poetry was, or at least what title to search for if they wanted to order a book that could show them. I have to wonder if the same thing is happening now when kids hear what books their school districts are banning from their libraries. And a new analysis from PEN America suggests Tennessee would be the place where that's happening. We're now a national leader in book banning, right up there with Florida and Texas for the number of titles pulled from the shelves. It's not quite like it was for Ginsberg's book. No one's being arrested for selling books. But let's be honest, the books that are being removed don't do anywhere near as much to be controversial in the first place. Some don't really do anything, unless you really squint your eyes and try really hard to see something nefarious. The PEN America analysis includes a ranking of the most frequently banned books in the past year. And near the very top of the list is Wicked, the book that the musical and movie were based on. The beloved musical and movie, I should say, that many families enjoyed together. And that's reflective of the trend that PEN America details in its analysis, which is that the bans are often based on sweeping generalizations that may have little or nothing to do with the actual content in the books. Like banning picture books that include innocuous images of families with gay parents who are just standing next to each other, mind you, on the grounds that the book includes homosexuality, which evidently makes it intrinsically sexual, which then makes it inappropriate for young readers, including, evidently, those young readers whose own parents are gay. They can see it every day at home. The other children might see their family during school drop-off and pickup doing exactly what is depicted in that picture book. But that book cannot be on the school library's shelf. The bans might be based on prevailing themes, or they might be triggered by a particular interpretation of a single paragraph. Bottom line, these book bans are becoming exponentially more common with every year that passes. And the more common they become, the less officials seem to bother with the steps that are supposedly required to make sure books aren't just banned willy-nilly. The report finds that nationwide, only about 4% of the book bans enacted in the last year followed what are supposed to be the procedures for the state or district that issued those bans. And simultaneously, it's becoming harder for parents bothered by the removal of books to challenge that shrinking of resources that are available for their children. There used to be a person in the Federal Education Department's Office of Civil Rights who handled this kind of stuff. That position's been eliminated. The change was announced in a memo with a subject line that basically called the idea that book bans exist a, quote, hoax, And all through that memo, the word ban is printed in scare quotes. The PEN America report points out that Tennessee has created one lever that hasn't yet been pulled, a statewide list for books to be banned. Legislation creating a mechanism to make such a list was passed last year, but so far it does not seem that the state has followed through. Book removal is still a district-by-district matter for the moment. But it may just be a matter of time. Florida and Utah have gone ahead and started to create their own statewide no-read lists. In just a few minutes, we learn how a Gospel Music Hall of Fame finally got its physical home in downtown Nashville. That's coming up after the newscast.
Tennessee's legislature has passed a record-breaking number of anti-LGBTQ laws. I'm Miriam Yao, and as WPLN's Power and Equity reporter, I focus not only on how marginalized communities contend with those new laws, but how they come together in spite of them.
I think what gives me hope is that someone like you is covering this. Because if the overwhelming narrative is one of defeat, how can we have hope?
Listen here on 90.3 WPLN News.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee is shedding new light on his endorsement of the deployment of National Guard troops and federal law enforcement in Memphis. Speaking to reporters in Knoxville, Lee said he'd never completely ruled out the National Guard as a tool for tackling crime in Tennessee's second-largest city. And he shared that business leaders had urged him to take action.
I'm contacted by CEOs on a regular basis who would like to make major financial investments in Memphis, but are concerned about the crime.
Lee also clarified that he has no current plans to request federal deployment for any other Tennessee cities. This comes as President Donald Trump told the country's top generals earlier this week that he wanted American cities to become, quote, training grounds for the military.
I do want Memphis to be an example for how some of the most difficult communities in America can be transformed, how homicide rates can be lowered and eliminated.
There's been a push by one congressman to deploy to Nashville, though little momentum is behind the idea, as others question the constitutionality of the deployment. Among the programs at risk due to the government shutdown is funding for the Affordable Care Act. Many of the tax credits that allow for more affordable coverage for low and middle income people and families could expire at the end of the year. It means the more than 600,000 Tennesseans currently enrolled in the ACA could end up paying twice as much for coverage. An example given by KFF found that a family who pays about $75 a month now could end up paying more than $160. WKRN reports that the impact would be more severe for people in rural communities. The future of the subsidies is one of the items at the heart of the dispute in Congress. Vanderbilt is among 9 highly selective universities being asked to commit to President Donald Trump's political priorities. It's the latest ratcheting up of the leverage battle between the president and high-profile institutions. University leaders have been asked to sign a compact that includes Trump preferences, such as no demographic considerations in admissions, accepting a limited definition of gender and applying it to bathrooms and sports teams, capping of international enrollment, and committing to promoting a wide range of views on campuses and being less hostile towards conservative ideas. The Associated Press obtained the compact and reports that, in exchange for signing it, the universities would be given priority access to some federal grants and access to White House officials. Vanderbilt has issued a one-sentence statement pledging to carefully review the compact and provide, quote, meaningful feedback to the administration. The Charlie Kirk Day of Peaceful Discourse, approved by the Sumner County School Board, has some families peacefully protesting. Renee of Gallatin called into WPLN's midday show This Is Nashville to say she plans on keeping her kids home on October 14th. She says the date, which is the birthday of the assassinated conservative activist, is being used to test allegiances to the Trump administration.
We're not really associated with any political party, but I don't want my kids to be used as political pawns for this anti-left and, MAGA right and all that stuff. And I just don't think it's fair that they're going to use our kids as pawns to see how many show up.
When the Sumner County School Board approved the day to honor Charlie Kirk, some members noted that it was an unprecedented move. Supporters of the event call Kirk a martyr who should be credited with helping President Trump win a second term. Schools in Cheatham County are the latest to install weapons detection technology, starting with Sycamore High School and Middle School. More schools will get installations after fall break. The walkthrough devices will screen all students and guests as they arrive. The system is made by CEIA Open Gate, which differs from the system that has been expanding through metro schools. A church in East Nashville has a creative way of addressing food insecurity among school kids, hosting an event where the community can listen to local musicians while donating food for students in need. WPLN's Camelia Burris has more.
The Singing for Their Supper event at St. John's Lutheran Church has everything from gospel to jazz to country. Music City is the perfect place to host a musical event to raise awareness about food insecurity, according to Marcy Boggs, one of the event's organizers.
Nashville has so many great musicians, and we knew a lot of songwriters, a lot of singers, a lot of players, and we thought, man, why don't we just get them all together for a night?
Ahead of the upcoming Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, the church is collecting food bags for students.
There's a lot of time there where they were getting meals at their schools, and all of a sudden they're not. And some of their parents are really struggling to put food on the table.
The church's pastor, Reverend Rick Roberts, says they've long worked with schools in the community. And when they ask what's the most pressing need among school kids, the answer is always the same.
Over the last several years, through our work in the community with our schools that we partner with, I see and I hear almost daily, the need for the children who are food insecure.
Staff from 2 schools in the neighborhood, Two Rivers Middle and Margaret Allen Middle, attended the event on Saturday evening. He says they hosted a similar event in May to raise food for kids during summer vacation. People donated 653 bags of food. This time around, the goal is to raise 1,000. It's especially timely because people who depend on programs like SNAP are facing new restrictions. WPLN News, Camelia Burris.
Folks who want to donate can bring food to St. John's through the month of October. The Nashville Library is looking to preserve the history of life in the city. The library is offering to digitize home videos originally recorded on older formats like VHS or 8mm film, among others. It says the goal is to preserve aging film that might otherwise be lost to time. The library hopes to collect videos of everyday life, family traditions, or community events. Files will be shared online with owners and the public. Applications to submit home videos will be available through October 23rd at library.nashville.org. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Today, the Museum of Christian and Gospel Music opens its doors in downtown Nashville. One of its exhibits is devoted to the GMA Gospel Music Hall of Fame, which has been without a home for half a century. Senior music writer Julie Height looked into what it took to finally open such a space.
When I visited the Museum of Christian and Gospel Music 2 weeks ago, workers were still installing flooring and no artifacts were in place.
You'll see the cases are not filled yet. We're still building the holders that go with them, and these are all precious items. Some of these.
That's the museum's executive director, Steve Gilreath. The rush to get the institution ready to open is a milestone in itself, especially for the Hall of Fame and the nearly 200 members it's welcomed since it was created by the Gospel Music Association in 1971.
Welcome, Mylan Lefebvre.
It is my honor to hereby induct Aretha Franklin.
To honor and induct DeGarmo and Key.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming former and current members of Take Six.
It has lived in a cardboard box in the basement of the headquarters, and that's unbelievable and outrageous at the same time.
The philanthropist funding the Hall of Fame's glossy new interactive display is Mike Kerb, and he says it's the realization of a long-time goal.
We've been trying for years to get a home.
To that end, Kerb and other industry executives once attempted to buy a lot where a skyscraper now stands. His investment in the Christian music industry dates back to its modern origins. In the late 60s, he helped launch some of its influential early stars.
I don't think I fully realized it at the time, but there I was right at the start of what is contemporary Christian music. I was signing these artists as mainstream artists and putting them out just like we would put out a pop or a rock or a country artist. I didn't have them in a separate Christian category.
White Southern gospel and black gospel already existed as wholly distinct genres, and predominantly white contemporary Christian music would soon emerge as an inspirational analog to secular pop and rock.
And friends are friends forever if the Lord's the Lord of them.
When downloading and streaming supplanted record sales across the music industry decades later, the CCM market was hit especially hard.
I am Jackie Patillo, the president of the Gospel Music Association and the Gospel Music Foundation.
When she stepped into that position 15 years ago, the first woman of color in the role, Patillo needed to help her industry weather that crisis. She also sought to bring together the historically segregated lineages of Christian and gospel music. Only then could she turn her attention to matters of legacy.
People automatically assume that there is a place that celebrates Christian and gospel music somewhere in America, and there isn't.
Pigeon Forge has the Southern Gospel Music Association Hall of Fame. And St. Louis has the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. So Patillo approached the board of her Nashville-based organization about uniting Christian musical traditions under one roof. They agreed and commissioned a feasibility study and a capital campaign.
This was a $15 million project. Once we had the data and the information that Music City did need a Christian and gospel music museum, it was off to the races.
Patillo and the GMA already had an arrangement with Lipscomb University to host their offices and annual Dove Awards show. Now the museum occupies the same building as the school's downtown Nashville campus.
So we looked at a couple of other places, and it just so happened that there was a little over 11,000 square feet here that they were not using. So we are third-party leasers, and we have a 15-year long-term lease to be here. It's right in the perfect location. We're a block behind the Ryman's. The Bachelorette Pedal Taverns go by here. We've got a garage door in the front that we can open up and let the music flow out into the street.
Think of all the other important musical histories formalized in nearby institutions. The National Museum of African American Music, the Musicians Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, which includes the glass-roofed Mike Curb Conservatory. Curb has long envisioned what the Museum of Christian and Gospel Music could offer tourists, students, and anyone else who pays a visit.
Well, they're going to be able to see the full history of Christian music. It sort of completes Nashville.
For WPLN, I'm Julie Height.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. A little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up next week.